Money is one of the loudest sources of stress in American life. Maybe you feel it every time you open your banking app, every time a bill arrives, or every time you hear about layoffs, inflation, or another economic shock. You work hard, yet it feels like one unexpected expense could knock everything over. This audiobook is brought to you by Elite Mind Audiobooks, where the mission is simple: turn every minute into mastery. In this program, you will learn how to build what most people never have with money: a financial fortress. Not a fantasy of instant wealth, but a solid, stable foundation that can withstand storms. What follows is not personalized financial advice, and it is not a promise of getting rich quick. It is an educational guide built on timeless principles to help you think more clearly about money and make stronger decisions. For choices about investing, debt, taxes, or legal issues, always consult a qualified professional who understands your specific situation. With that in mind, let us begin building your fortress. Chapter 1. Across the United States, people are worried about money. Surveys show that a majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, even many with good incomes. Credit card balances are high. Student loans weigh people down for decades. Housing costs eat a huge share of monthly pay. The news talks about inflation one month, recession the next. If you feel behind, you are not alone. But you also cannot afford to let normal be your standard. Normal is stressed, exposed, and one crisis away from serious trouble. Normal is not a place to stay. The first step to building a financial fortress is facing reality without panic and without denial. Most people do one of two things with money stress. They obsess, checking balances constantly, worrying about every news headline. Or they avoid, refusing to look, hoping things will somehow work out. Both reactions keep you stuck. Your fortress starts with a different posture: calm, clear, and honest. You are not a victim of every economic headline. You are also not magically immune. You are a builder, and builders need to see the ground they are building on. Think about your current situation. You have income, however large or small. You have expenses, both fixed and variable. You may have savings, debt, or neither. You have certain skills and opportunities. This is your starting point. It does not matter how you got here or what you wish were different. This is the ground you are standing on today. In this book, we will talk about 5 main elements of your financial fortress: how money flows in and out of your life, and how to create a consistent surplus. How to build a basic safety buffer so emergencies do not turn into disasters. How to handle debt wisely instead of letting it handle you. How to grow your earning power in a changing economy. And how to put your extra money to work through simple, long-term investing. Before we go into details, there is a mindset shift you must make. It is the shift from consumer to builder. The consumer mindset is what our culture trains you for. You measure your life by what you buy, what you wear, what you drive, where you vacation. You see money mainly as a way to get more stuff or experiences now. You compare yourself constantly to what you see on screens. The consumer mindset keeps you busy and broke. The builder mindset is different. You see money as a tool for creating stability, options, and impact over time. You care more about your net worth than your image. You get more satisfaction from strengthening your position than from impressing strangers. You are willing to live below your means today, so your future self is stronger, freer, and calmer. Ask yourself which mindset has been guiding your choices. When you get a raise or a bonus, do you automatically raise your lifestyle? Or do you strengthen your foundation? When you feel stressed or bored, do you spend to feel better for a moment? Or do you use that moment to learn and improve? You cannot control the whole economy, but you can control your habits, your choices, and the way you think about money. That control applied steadily is what turns a fragile life into a stronger one. The message of this chapter is simple. You are not just a passenger in the financial world. You are a builder, and your first act of strength is to face your situation clearly and decide to build something solid, step by step. Chapter 2. Before you change anything with your money, you need visibility. You cannot fix what you will not look at. You cannot steer what you cannot see. This is where many people get stuck, not because the math is hard, but because the emotions are heavy. Maybe you grew up in a home where money was a source of conflict, secrecy, or shame. Maybe you made choices you regret, took on debt that feels overwhelming, or feel embarrassed by how little you have saved. These feelings are real, but letting them keep you from looking at your numbers only makes the situation worse. The strongest move you can make right now is to look your reality in the eye. No blame, no drama, just facts. Start with your monthly cash flow. Cash flow is simply the movement of money into and out of your life. Income comes in, expenses go out. Whatever is left after expenses is your surplus. If more goes out than comes in, you have a deficit. For 1 month, track every dollar that moves through your world. You can use a notebook, a spreadsheet, or an app. The tool is less important than the honesty. Write down your take-home pay. List any side income. Then list your expenses, rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, subscriptions, eating out, entertainment, debt payments, everything. This can be uncomfortable. You may see patterns you do not like. You may realize you are spending far more than you thought on certain categories. That discomfort is valuable. It is the signal that you are waking up. When you subtract your total monthly expenses from your total monthly income, you get one simple number: surplus or deficit. That number is the starting point of your fortress. If you have a surplus, even a small one, you have raw material to build with. If you have a deficit, your first mission is to close that gap. There are only two levers: earn more or spend less. In reality, most people need some of both over time. But in the short term, spending is usually the easier lever to move quickly. Even modest cuts in non-essential spending can shift you from red to black. This is not about never enjoying your money. It is about making sure you are not burning your own future for short-term comfort. The fortress needs bricks. Those bricks are made from surplus. Once you see your cash flow clearly, you can start to make decisions on purpose. You might notice that you are paying for subscriptions you do not use, eating out more often than you realized, or making impulse purchases when you are tired or stressed. Simply being aware of these patterns often leads you to change them without much extra effort. There is a second layer to visibility. your net worth. This is a snapshot of everything you own minus everything you owe. Add up your cash, savings, retirement accounts, and any assets like a home or car. Then subtract your debts. The result is your net worth. For many people starting out, this number is small or even negative. That is okay. The goal is not to impress anyone with the number today. The goal is to watch it grow over time as you strengthen your position. Looking at your net worth regularly, perhaps once a quarter, helps you focus on the big picture instead of just the noise of daily transactions. Even small progress becomes visible when you track it. As you do this work, be kind to yourself. You are not on trial. You are doing what many never do, facing the truth and taking responsibility. That alone puts you ahead of the majority. The message of this chapter is that clarity is power. When you understand your cash flow and your net worth, you move from guessing to knowing, from hoping to planning, from drifting to building. Chapter 3. Once you see your cash flow clearly, the first wall of your financial fortress is simple to describe and hard to do consistently. Spend less than you earn. Create a surplus. Protect it. It is a basic rule, but most people do not live by it. Advertising, social pressure, easy credit, and rising costs all push you toward the edge or beyond it. The culture says, if you can afford the monthly payment, you can afford it. The fortress mindset says, if it keeps you from building surplus, you cannot. Imagine an office worker named Carla. She earns a decent salary and gets small raises every couple of years. Each time her income goes up, her lifestyle quietly rises with it. A slightly nicer apartment, better car, more takeout, more travel. On paper, she looks successful. In reality, she has almost no savings and several credit cards near their limits. She has no fortress. She has a fragile tower of appearances. Now imagine another worker, same income, same city. We will call him Ben. When his pay goes up, he deliberately keeps his lifestyle nearly the same. He allows a little more comfort here and there, but most of the increase goes to savings, debt payoff, and investing. Over time, his surplus grows. He starts with $50 a month, then $200, then $500, then more. 10 years later, his net worth is 6 figures. He lives in the same world as Carla, but he made different choices with the gap between income and expenses. The gap is where strength lies. Your fortress is built from that gap. If your current surplus is small or non-existent, you may feel discouraged. Do not. Even an extra $20 or $50 a month, directed on purpose, is a meaningful start. Small amounts grow when you are consistent and when you increase them as your situation improves. To expand your surplus, you can look at spending in 3 layers. The first layer is waste. This is money you spend without any real benefit. Subscriptions you forgot you had. Fees from not paying attention. Impulse buys that you barely remember a week later. Cutting waste feels good because you are not losing anything of value. The second layer is comfort. These are things you enjoy, but could reduce without harming your life. Eating out slightly less often. Choosing a slightly cheaper apartment. Driving a car that is reliable but not impressive. Many people can free up significant surplus by dialing back comfort slightly, especially if lifestyle has crept up silently over the years. The third layer is core. These are expenses that are hard or unwise to cut without serious consequences: basic housing, food, health care, essential transportation. Here, the focus is less on cutting and more on optimizing. Can you refinance, negotiate, or find more efficient options? As you trim, remember that you are not just saying no. You are saying yes to something else. Every dollar you do not spend today is a brick in your fortress. It is a small act of protection for your future self. At the same time, keep an eye on the income side. In later chapters, we will talk about building your earning power. For now, know that increasing income without controlling spending simply raises the height of your lifestyle without strengthening your base. The gap must grow for your fortress to grow. Ask yourself, after looking at my cash flow, what is one expense I can remove or reduce this month that would not genuinely hurt my life? What is one small change that would widen my gap? Even a little. The message of this chapter is this: financial strength starts with a surplus. It may be small at first. That is fine. Protect it. Grow it. Your fortress is made from that extra. Chapter 4: Life is unpredictable. Cars break down, people get sick, jobs change, storms hit. In a fragile situation, any one of these events can turn into a disaster, pushing you into debt or forcing you to make bad decisions under pressure. The second wall of your financial fortress is an emergency buffer. Money set aside, not for fun, not for investing, but simply to keep you standing when life hits hard. Many experts recommend having 3 to 6 months of basic expenses in an emergency fund. For some, that is a useful target. For others, especially when starting from zero, that number sounds impossible and overwhelming. Do not let the size of the ideal keep you from starting where you are. If you have no cushion at all, your first goal might be just $500. For many common emergencies, that alone makes the difference between crisis and inconvenience. Once you reach that, maybe you aim for 1,000. Then 1 month of expenses, then 2, and so on. Think in stages. Every step up is real protection. Where should this money sit? Somewhere safe and accessible, like a simple savings account. The goal is not to maximize return here. It is to maximize reliability. This is the wall that keeps the storm outside long enough for you to respond with a clear head. Building this buffer requires intention. It will not appear by accident. You can use the surplus you created in the last chapter and direct a portion of it each month into your emergency fund. If you receive a tax refund, bonus, or gift, you might choose to send a significant part of it to this wall before doing anything else. Emotionally, this can be challenging. When you are used to spending everything that comes in, saving feels like loss. But remember the builder mindset. You are not losing. You are redirecting. You are trading a little comfort today for a lot of security tomorrow. There is also a psychological benefit to an emergency fund that goes beyond the numbers. Knowing you have a cushion reduces daily money anxiety. You do not have to hold your breath between paychecks. You do not have to panic at every small surprise. This calmer state of mind helps you make better decisions in every area of your life. Some people resist the idea of an emergency fund because they believe they can always use credit in a crisis. While credit can be a tool, relying on it as your only backup makes you fragile. In a true emergency, More debt is the last thing you want. A real buffer keeps you from having to dig a deeper hole just to get through. As you think about your own situation, ask yourself, if I lost my main income tomorrow, how long could I cover my basic expenses with what I have right now? How would I feel if that number were higher? What small, realistic monthly contribution could I commit to building an emergency buffer? Starting this week, the message of this chapter is straightforward. Emergencies are not optional. They will come. Your choice is whether you will meet them with panic and debt or with a prepared wall of cash that buys you time and options. Chapter 5 Debt is one of the biggest cracks in many people's financial walls. Used carefully, some forms of debt can help you move forward. Used carelessly, debt becomes a heavy chain that drags you down year after year. To build a financial fortress, you must learn to distinguish between different kinds of debt and develop a plan to tame them. High-interest consumer debt, like many credit cards and some personal loans, is especially dangerous. When interest rates are in the teens or higher, your balance can grow quickly even if you are making payments. It is like trying to climb a hill that is moving under your feet. This kind of debt is rarely your friend. Lower interest debt, tied to assets that hold or grow in value, like a reasonable fixed rate mortgage on a home you can afford, can be more manageable. It is still a commitment and a risk, but the terms are very different from a credit card used to fund lifestyle. Student loans occupy a gray area. For some, they are a necessary bridge to higher earning power. For others, especially when taken on without a clear plan, they become a burden that delays everything else. Regardless, once you have them, the question becomes how to manage them wisely within your overall plan. Begin by listing all your debts, balance, interest rate, minimum payment, and whether the rate is fixed or variable. This may be uncomfortable, but it is essential. Ignoring debt does not make it smaller. Seeing it clearly is the first step to shrinking it. Next, consider your approach to paying it down. There are two common strategies. One is to focus on the highest interest debt first, because mathematically, that is where you are losing the most. The other is to focus on the smallest balances first to create quick wins and momentum. Both approaches can work. The best one is the one you will stick with. You might choose to pay minimums on all debts except one, and then direct as much extra as you can to that target. When that one is paid off, you roll its payment into the next, and so on. This snowball, or avalanche, effect speeds up as you go. As you pay down debt, it is crucial to avoid taking on more at the same time. Otherwise, you are trying to fill a bathtub with the drain wide open. This may mean cutting up or freezing some cards, removing saved payment information from shopping sites, or setting stricter rules for yourself about what goes on credit. At the same time, keep building or maintaining your emergency buffer. Without a cushion, any surprise will push you back onto the card you just paid down. It can feel slow to split your surplus between saving and debt payoff, but this combined approach creates more lasting stability. Be careful about risky shortcuts. Offers to consolidate all your debt into one big loan, balance transfer deals, or other complex products can sometimes help, but they can also make things worse if the terms are poor or if you do not change the behavior that created the debt. Before making big moves, consider speaking to a reputable, nonprofit credit counselor or another qualified professional. Emotionally, dealing with debt can stir up regret, shame, or anger. You may be frustrated with your past self, your school, your bank, or the system as a whole. Those feelings are understandable, but do not let them paralyze you. Every payment you make above the minimum is an act of reclaiming your future. Every dollar of principal you reduce is a brick removed from the wall blocking your way. Ask yourself, which of my debts is hurting me the most right now? What is one concrete step I can take this week to start reducing it, even if that step is small? The message of this chapter is that debt does not have to define your financial life. It is a problem to be managed and solved, not a permanent identity. With clarity, discipline, and time, even heavy debt can be brought under control. Chapter 6. So far, we have focused on defense, controlling spending, building buffers, taming debt. These are essential walls of your fortress. But defense alone is not enough. To build real strength over time, you also need offense. You need to grow your earning power. For most people, the single biggest financial asset they will ever have is not a stock or a house. It is their ability to earn income over decades. The more valuable you are in the marketplace, the stronger your financial position can become. In a changing American economy, where industries are being reshaped by technology, globalization, and automation, relying on one job or one skill set for 40 years is increasingly risky. Building a financial fortress means staying valuable, adaptable, and ready. Start with your current work. Whatever you do, ask yourself one simple question. How could I make myself undeniably more valuable in this role or in this field over the next year? Maybe it is mastering a high-demand skill. Maybe it is becoming the person who can solve a certain kind of problem. Maybe it is taking on responsibilities that others avoid. Maybe it is improving your communication so your contributions are more visible and more trusted. Value is not just about technical skill. It is also about reliability, attitude, and the ability to work well with others. The person who consistently delivers, who learns quickly, who is easy to work with, and who takes ownership of results is rare. Rare is valuable. At the same time, think beyond your current position. What adjacent skills or roles could you grow into that would increase your options and income potential? If you are in customer service, could you learn sales, operations, or data analysis? If you are in a trade, could you learn business skills that prepare you to run your own shop someday? If you are a professional, could you deepen your expertise or add a new specialty? Learning does not have to mean going back to school for years. In a world full of online courses, tutorials, books, and mentors, you can often acquire valuable skills in months if you are focused and consistent. The key is to choose skills that the market rewards, not just ones that are interesting. There is also the question of additional income streams. Side work, freelance projects, small businesses, consulting, and other ventures can supplement your primary income and diversify your risk. However, be careful not to scatter your energy across too many half-hearted efforts. A side income is most powerful when it is built on skills you are genuinely good at and when it fits your life in a sustainable way. For example, a teacher might tutor after school. A mechanic might do occasional mobile repairs. A software developer might build small tools or apps. A person with strong organizational skills might offer virtual assistance. The possibilities are wide, but the principle is the same. Use what you can do well to create more value for others, and some of that value will return to you as income. As you consider your earning power, avoid the trap of comparing yourself constantly to others. You will always find someone making more money, with a flashier career or a bigger business. That comparison can drain your motivation. Instead, compare yourself to your own potential. Ask, given my starting point and my opportunities, how can I become more valuable this year than I was last year? The message of this chapter is empowering. You are not stuck with your current earning level forever. You may not change it overnight, and there may be real constraints, but you do have levers you can pull. Investing in your skills and your value is one of the highest return uses of your time and attention. Chapter 7. Once you have a surplus and some stability, you face an important question. What should you do with the extra? Keeping everything in cash protects you in the short term, but loses ground to inflation over time. Spending it all keeps you comfortable now, but weak later. The builder's answer is to invest. Investing is simply using your money to buy assets that you believe will grow in value or produce income in the future. Over long periods, investing allows you to benefit from compounding, the process by which growth builds on itself like a snowball rolling downhill. This audiobook cannot and does not provide personalized investment advice. The specifics of what you should invest in depend on your age, goals, risk tolerance, tax situation, and more. For that, you should consult a qualified financial professional. What we can do here is focus on basic principles that have stood the test of time. One key principle is this: trying to get rich quickly through investing is usually a good way to lose money. Chasing hot tips, timing the market, day trading, or pouring everything into something you barely understand are behaviors that build stress, not strength. The fortress approach is slow and steady. Another principle is diversification. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Spreading your investments across many companies, sectors, or even asset classes reduces the impact of any single loss. Many people use broad-based funds that own small pieces of many companies at once as a way to diversify easily. The exact mix you choose is a decision to make with research or with help, but the idea of not betting everything on one thing is universal. Time in the market matters more than perfect timing. Over long periods, markets have historically gone up despite many short-term drops and scary headlines. No one can predict every twist and turn. Trying to jump in and out perfectly is extremely hard. A common approach is to invest a consistent amount over time, regardless of market conditions. So you buy more when prices are low and less when they are high. Risk is real. Investments can lose value, sometimes quickly. That is why you do not invest your emergency fund or money you know you will need in the very near term. You match your investments to your time horizon. Money you do not need for many years can ride out more ups and downs than money you might need next year. Taxes also matter. In the United States, there are tax-advantaged accounts like 401(k)s, 403(b)s, IRAs, and others designed to encourage saving for retirement or specific goals. These can offer benefits such as tax deductions, tax-deferred growth, or tax-free withdrawals under certain conditions. Learning the basics of how these work and using them when appropriate can significantly boost your long-term results. Again, these choices are personal and often complex. That is why working with a fiduciary financial planner, who is legally obligated to put your interests first, can be very helpful. Even if you do not hire one long-term, a single session to outline a high-level plan can be valuable as you think about investing. Remember that your primary goal with a financial fortress is not to win some race against strangers online. It is to ensure that, as the years pass, your money is working for you instead of just flowing through your fingers. You want to reach a point where part of your income comes not from your labor, but from your assets quietly compounding. Ask yourself, am I setting aside anything at all right now for the future, beyond emergencies? If not, what small amount could I start with, even if it is modest? If I am already investing, do I understand, at a basic level, what I own and why? The message of this chapter is that investing, done simply and patiently, is a powerful ally of your fortress. It is not a casino. It is a long-term partnership between your present discipline and your future freedom. Chapter 8. As your fortress grows, your job shifts from just building walls to maintaining and protecting them. Many people make some progress with money, then quietly erode it through habits, creep, and unplanned risks. Protection is not glamorous, but it is essential. One threat is lifestyle creep. As your income rises over the years, it is natural to want more comfort. Better housing, better food, better experiences. There is nothing wrong with this in moderation. The problem comes when your expenses rise just as fast as or faster than your income. The gap you worked so hard to create disappears. You are back to living on the edge, just with nicer stuff. You can guard against lifestyle creep by making a simple rule for yourself. For every raise or new income stream, decide in advance what percentage will go to building your fortress and what percentage can go to lifestyle. For example, you might choose to send 70% of any raise to savings investing or debt payoff, and allow 30% to expand your lifestyle. The exact numbers are yours to choose. The key is that your gap grows over time, not just your spending. Another threat is impulse. Online shopping, instant credit, and clever marketing make it easy to make big decisions in small moments. A few clicks, and you have committed future money to a car, a vacation, or a gadget. To protect your fortress, you can install simple friction before large or non-essential purchases. For example, a rule that any purchase above a certain dollar amount requires a waiting period of 24 or 48 hours. Often, the initial urge fades, and you make a clearer choice. Insurance is another form of protection. Health insurance, disability coverage, liability coverage, and property insurance exist to protect you from financial blows you could not realistically cover on your own. The details are complex and beyond the scope of this audiobook. But the principle is that you use insurance to transfer certain large risks you cannot absorb to a company that can. Reviewing your coverage with a professional to make sure it fits your situation is part of fortress maintenance. There is also the risk of being unprepared for larger life transitions. Marriage, children, divorce, serious illness, caring for aging parents, starting or selling a business. All of these events have significant financial dimensions. Thinking ahead, even a little, puts you in a stronger position when they come. Systems help. Automating good behavior wherever possible reduces the chance that stress, business, or forgetfulness will derail you. Automatic transfers into savings or investment accounts, automatic extra payments on debt, and default contributions to retirement plans are examples. Once set up, they quietly move you in the right direction with little effort. Regular reviews are part of protection. Once or twice a year, sit down and look at your entire financial picture. Income, expenses, debts, savings, investments, insurance, goals. Ask what has changed, what needs adjustment, and what progress you have made. This keeps your fortress aligned with your life. Finally, protect your mind. In the age of social media, financial comparison is constant. You see curated images of other people's lives and feel like you are behind. Or you see extreme success stories and feel like your steady progress is meaningless. It is not. The fortress is built one brick at a time. Quiet strength does not always look impressive on a screen, but it feels very different when life tests you. Ask yourself, what simple system could I set up this month to protect my progress? Is it an automatic transfer, a waiting period rule for big purchases, a meeting with a professional, or a regular review date on my calendar? The message of this chapter is that building wealth is not a one-time push. It is an ongoing practice of protection, adjustment, and discipline. The more you respect your fortress, the more it will protect you. Chapter 9. You have walked through the main elements of a financial fortress. Facing your reality with clarity, creating a surplus, building an emergency buffer, taming debt, growing your earning power, investing simply and patiently, protecting your progress with systems and habits. The final step is to connect all of this to something deeper than numbers. Money is not the point of your life. It is a tool, a powerful one, but still a tool. The purpose of building a financial fortress is to create a stable base from which you can live your values more fully. Ask yourself, what does mean for me? Not what the culture says, not what an ad suggests, but what truly matters to you. Enough might mean not worrying about every bill. It might mean having time with your children, freedom to do work you care about, ability to help family, or capacity to give generously. When you are clear on what enough looks like, you are less vulnerable to endless chasing. Align your spending with your values. Look at where your money actually goes each month and ask whether it reflects what you say matters most. If family is central, are you investing in experiences and time together, or mainly in things that impress others? If health is important, are you funding it, or are you starving it while feeding other priorities? The same goes for your time. A financial fortress is not built in one heroic weekend. It is built in small, consistent actions over years. You can turn commutes into learning sessions by listening to educational material instead of random noise. You can use a few minutes each week to review your numbers instead of avoiding them. You can turn idle scrolling into skill building. Here is a simple weekly rhythm you can adopt. Once a week, perhaps on Sunday evening, spend 20 or 30 minutes with your money. Look at your recent spending. Check your balances. Move money into your emergency fund or investments. Make an extra payment on a debt if you can. Note your progress, however small. This habit keeps your fortress in your awareness without dominating your life. Each day, ask one small question. What is one thing I can do today, in 5 minutes or less, to strengthen my financial position? It might be canceling a subscription, packing lunch instead of eating out, watching a free tutorial on a skill, or setting up an automatic transfer. Alone, these actions are tiny. Together, over months and years, they change your trajectory. Remember that building a fortress is especially powerful when you are not doing it alone. If you have a partner, bring them into the process with respect and openness. If you are single, find a friend or community where money can be discussed honestly and constructively. Isolation breeds shame and inaction. Shared effort builds courage. You will make mistakes along the way. You will have months where you slip, emergencies that slow your progress, and moments when old habits creep back. That does not mean you have failed. It means you are human. The difference between those who end up strong and those who stay stuck is not perfection. It is persistence. As you finish this audiobook and return to your life, remember the central truth running through it. You are not powerless with money. No matter where you are starting, there is always a next step you can take to be a little stronger, a little clearer, and a little more prepared. Turn your spare minutes into building blocks. Use your attention, your effort, and your choices to create a financial life that supports you rather than scares you. Brick by brick, habit by habit, you can build a financial fortress that stands, not just for you, but for the people you care about and the future you want to see. Thank you for listening. Now choose your next small action and begin.